I will say that between Senator Warner and Senator Tillis, giving time back is a blessing. Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Scott.
Yes, sir.
Turner, Mr. Turner, good to see you, and it was great to sit down with you yesterday. I appreciate the opportunity, and let me just say that to me, it shows excellent judgment that a man from Texas would come to play for what was then the Washington Redskins, now the Washington Commanders. And I will point out to my colleagues, and I know Senator Cornyn had to leave, but in the last game that we played, the Commanders played against the Cowboys. Commanders won, and they're in the playoffs. And all of us in Maryland are hoping for a Ravens-Commanders Super Bowl. All right, that's what we're all rooting for. Okay. So let me just address some of the issues we discussed yesterday. And I mentioned in our meeting that Senator Todd Young and I have introduced a bipartisan legislation entitled the Family Stability and Opportunity Vouchers Act, which would create housing vouchers targeted on families with young kids and enable them to move to areas of higher opportunity. There's lots of research that shows that helps break the cycle of poverty and create more generational wealth in income. The legislation we've introduced is based on a pilot program that we launched in legislation that was signed by President Trump the last time he was in the Oval Office, and the early signs from the pilot program have been so encouraging, we went ahead and introduced a full piece of legislation. So I'd really like to move forward on that and just ask if you are confirmed whether you will work with us to advance that legislation.
Sorry. Yes, sir, Senator, and it was great to visit with you, and yes, I do look forward to working with you.
So let me address another area that we talked about, which is the cost of housing. I think all of us recognize we have an affordable housing crisis in the United States of America. You agree with that, right?
Yes, sir.
And obviously some of the inputs to housing are the materials. We talked about how you have a multi-family housing business, and when I asked you what were the primary drivers of increased costs, one of the first thing you said was the costs of actually building the home and the materials, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So I want to talk to you about those inputs, because obviously lumber is a huge cost for housing. And the previous Trump administration increased tariffs on lumber. The current Biden administration kept them on and raised them a little further. I think they're now about 15%. Would you agree that it would make housing more unaffordable if we further increased tariffs on lumber?
Well, you know, that's the president's job, and I know he's going to do everything he can to bring costs down.
No, I mean, this is sort of math. I'm just asking you, there are lots of factors here, but would you agree that if you increase the tariffs on lumber, which is a major input to the cost of housing, that increases the cost of housing?
Well, I think there's a lot of increase to the cost of housing. I don't want to get into the tariffs conversation, because obviously that is not my job. That's the president, and your job is Congress. But what I want to do is combat anything that raises the cost of housing, be it the cost of construction, be it fees, be it regulatory burdens. That's what I'm focused on, Senator, to bring those things down.
Right. No, I appreciate that. You know, if you're confirmed you're going to be Secretary of Housing, and affordable housing will be part of your portfolio, a major part of it, and obviously you'll be at the cabinet meetings if confirmed. And so yes, I hope you will pass on to the president, as he considers these things, the impact that will have. Look, I support targeted tariffs to protect strategic U.S. industries. I mean, that's a very important thing.
Right.
But a broad-based set of tariffs across all sorts of goods that we're importing obviously drives up costs to Americans, just like it drives it up for housing. And there's another area of housing that includes gypsum. By the way, we produce some gypsum in the United States, but we also import a lot of gypsum, including through the Port of Baltimore. That's another area. If President Trump is talking about increasing tariffs across the board for Americans by 10 to 20%, won't those tariffs on gypsum and other things also raise the cost of housing and make it less affordable?
Senator, I do commit to you to having these conversations, if confirmed by this committee, with the president, because obviously affordable housing, if I'm the Secretary of HUD, will be my responsibility. So I do commit to having these and more conversations on how we can bring costs down in our country so that we can build affordable housing. So I do commit that to you, sir.
I appreciate that, and again, this is a simple mathematical proposition, and if we're serious about affordable housing, we can't have across-the-board tariffs in an unstrategic way. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.